Tony Murphy is our next speaker, and he's a senior change specialist in the Ideas Institute of SIP2.
I was a student here. I served my time as a draftsman many years ago, and I would have spent 5 years wandering, lost like David around the corridors, trying to find lecture rooms. So it's nice to be back, and I'm here today as a change specialist from the Ideas Institute, which is a training wing of SIP2. And I want to talk to you about our work in the area of workplace innovation and how we are using that to sustain and retain jobs, in particular in the manufacturing sector. Now, I'm just going to speak very briefly about what Ideas is. That it's an independent trust. We're a not-for-profit charity, and our aim is to bring training and development opportunities to the workforce. And the work that I do essentially is helping to facilitate change initiatives where companies need to change, particularly where companies are at the edge. And if they don't change how they operate or improve their effectiveness, the jobs may be lost and the company may close. I spend 90% of my time working in that environment. The other 10%, and I've just got prompted by Tommy from the bench here, that the other 10% of my time is spent working with companies who unfortunately, for whatever reason, have to close. And we would have a sort of a support program for people who find themselves in that situation. And currently we're working with Lisheen Mine. Lisheen Mine is a zinc lead mine in Tipperary. And they've been in operation for nearly 30 years, and they're at the stage where all the zinc and lead has been mined, and by the end of next year the operation will be closed. So we're working with the entire workforce to help them look at the skills, the talents and the experiences that they have, and helping them refocus them for a new career in a different industry, maybe setting up their own industry and their own business, or perhaps going back to education. So that is another piece of the work that we do. And just in case I forget, there is one for everyone in the audience. There's a little table back there, and this is a little brochure that explains who we are and what we do, and that's at the back table there, if you want one. SIP2, because of the work that I've just mentioned in Lisheen, we are very aware of the fact that, look, we've lost a lot of jobs in manufacturing over the past 8 or 10 years. So we now have a formal policy, and we are committed to retain and sustain manufacturing jobs in Ireland. And that policy was announced formally at a conference in 2011 in the Gresham Hotel. And since then we have been actively working with anyone and everyone that will help us do that. We've spoken to the IDA, Enterprise Ireland, Forfos, and we will be seeking their support in sustaining jobs. So, just what will manufacturing look like? If we want to sustain jobs, we need to understand what manufacturing will look like. And this is a quote. There was a report put together by a group. They were called the High Level Group on Manufacturing. And they were assembled in 2008. And there were representatives from employers, state agencies, IBEC, and Congress of Trade Unions. And they were asked to look, if you like, into a crystal ball and see what manufacturing in Ireland in the future would be like. And what they said was, manufacturing is evolving and will be different in the future. Well, anyone who's involved in manufacturing knows the constant change that we're faced with keeping up. But what they said is there's 3 pieces to the equation. There's high-level manufacturing activities in Ireland must be knowledge intense, capital intense, and skills intense. So for a company to stay in the manufacturing game, they have to have those. But in addition to them, they're saying that successful firms will engage in developing participative culture, where the management and staff work collectively to ensure the success and long-term sustainability of the firm for the benefit of all. So that's the last piece of that is really interesting. Yes, you can have your skills, your capital investment and your knowledge, but you need a climate in which those, if you like, are fostered and develop. And the model that we use, we've looked at this and we have a model that we feel allows this participative culture to be encouraged. And we've drawn very heavily on this model. Those of you who study this sort of stuff, this is the Toyota way. This is the model, the template that Toyota use when they're talking about how successful as an organization they have been. And everything in their organization, they claim, hinges on these two central pillars here. The first one is respect for people. And what they say is, you really have to treat your people properly, you have to treat them with respect, you have to treat not only your workforce, but your suppliers, your subcontractors, and your customers with that respect. The other leg of the pillar is continuous improvement. That, and it was touched upon earlier, that continuous improvement is the key to success. That you have to be all the time questioning your performance and trying to make it better, because that's how you stay abreast or ahead of the opposition. So we have modified this slightly, because over here on the respect for people we've said, look, this is about the management style. Theory X versus Theory Y. Now if you think back to your management sort of Theory X, you don't have much respect for your workforce, it's all control and command. Theory Y is that you really respect and you appreciate the skills that are inherent in the workforce. On the continuous improvement side, we've also now included, we need to look at how we use our energy, how we conserve our energy, and we look at sustainability as well. So that's a note that we've made to ourselves in this. But that essentially is the model that we are using. Now, when you present this model in a factory, that is pretty scary stuff, because the approach that we're talking about here doesn't always fit or sit with the company itself, the management team, the workforce, or some of the trade unions in the company. So this is a challenge. This is a real challenge to take this approach on. So how do we create a participative culture where we work together for the betterment of all? Before I answer that, I'm going to tease you for a second here. I'm just going to talk about change and the management of change, because that's really important in all of this. And if you look at the literature, there are three, if major change is to be implemented, there's normally three options considered. Option one is you rationally discuss the process. You talk about it and you talk about it. And unfortunately, if you talk too long, the opportunity is lost and it's too late. So rational discussion on its own rarely works. What I have here is power, or the insertion of change. A lot of companies decide change is necessary from the top and they insert it and push it down through the organisation. That's a most commonly used approach. It works to some degree. And I suppose if you really want to be successful with your change programme, if you can engage the heart and minds of people, if you can bring people with you. Now what we do is, in our model we draw from the three of them. Rational discussion is really important because that provides the context for the change. What we're saying in the power side, we encourage a push for change from the bottom and a supporting pull from the top. So the dynamic is totally different. And if you get 1 and 2 right, then you're in a position where you really have a chance to win the hearts and minds and get people to engage in the change process. This, I won't go into this in any detail, but if you need more information, contact us afterwards, right? But this is the model. We established what we call a joint union management steering group. So we want maybe 8 or 10 people from the plant, both managers and from the workforce, to take this on, to take this project on, to jointly figure out how we're going to move from where we are, which may be on the edge of the abyss, to a better place. So we would form that group. They must be leaders and influencers. This is not sort of like the fire crew who meet 2 or 3 times a year and they have a Christmas dinner. This is about providing leadership, strategic leadership to the entire workforce. That group we put through a formal FETAC accredited training course. That number has now changed, but that is the same. It's a FETAC level 5 course. And what we do is we have a series of objectives that we use during the training course. And one of them is we jointly figure out where we are now, warts and all. And then we agree where we want to go in the future. This is not corporate, somebody telling us what we want. This is us local. And that's, if you like, that is in essential, contained in all that is the plan to get from where we are, agreed jointly where we are, to agree jointly where we want to go. And then the third leg of the stool here is that that committee, that group of people, police and support and drive the whole process forward. Some snakes. So, for those of you at the back, this slide is sponsored by Specsavers. I served my time as a draftsman, so I love drawing stuff like this. But what I've just described to you is the first of 6 steps for this process to happen. Now, I want to just mention one thing, that to the left of this step, of step 1, which is forming the joint steering committee, before that can be even formed, we may have to do some preparatory work to clear the decks, to get a lot of issues resolved before we can enter into this. Because if we enter into this process, we don't want seepage from residual issues contaminating this new process. So that, even though it's a sort of a throwaway sentence there, is really important. We have to clear the decks. But that is the process, and that, what I've described, is just the first circle in the process there. Okay, how does this work? Where does it work? These are some of the companies that we're actually working in currently. Kirchhoff, a German automotive components plant up in Letterkenny. Leo Pharma, a pharmaceutical company in Crumlin. We're in the one Kerry Food sites in Charleville. Becton Dickinson, we're working in 2 sites. One up in Drogheda, which was close to the edge. And I'm glad to say now, I was up there on Wednesday, our place is flying. They've introduced new technology, new equipment, major investment in injection molding equipment, and 36 new jobs. So that is a real success for us. And that was done through this joint union management approach. They have a larger plant on Pottery Road on the south side of Dublin, and because of what has happened in Drogheda, we've been asked to take the process and introduce it to Pottery Road. We have a joint steering committee in place, so we're working on that. Syca would be a Spanish company that made cardboard boxes up in Ashbourne. Theo Benning, a German family-owned electronic assembly company. Wavin, who you know from your plumbing experience around the house, they make plastic pipes and fittings. THK, Japanese engineering company in Tala. Bosch and Lomb have been in the headlines for all the wrong reasons. We're working with them to help them through the current difficulties they're in. And we're also in Wyatt's, which became Pfizer, which I think is currently is Nestle down in Askeaton. So, how the model works. Look, we try and generate a win-win philosophy. We try and create this atmosphere where the workforce are encouraged to engage and push for change, and the management team are in a supportive role helping. And together we can generate whatever the creative energy that we sort of put together. We would encourage and generate innovation at all levels within the plant. And that manifests itself in the continuous improvement process, with improvements to the process, how work is organised, to the product itself, and to the various systems and procedures that are used. Again, that's the same picture, where at the bottom we're saying this continuous improvement, if we can work together, we can create the factories of the future, more importantly, factories with a future. So, Chairman, in conclusion, right, we at the Ideas Institute believe that we've developed a proven working model that can and will sustain jobs. And we're using that participative culture approach to do that. And this model encourages win-win-win outcomes. Wins for the individual, wins for the company, the organisation, and win for society. All our work is in the manufacturing sector. But we believe this model is universal and can be adapted to work in applications other than manufacturing. It has, I believe, universal application. And we strive to encourage workplace innovation and creativity at all levels in all organisations. So I'm going to finish with a quote from this report, again the high-level group on manufacturing report. And this was in their summary. They said, together we agree that a coordinated and collaborative approach is absolutely necessary if we are to realise our vision for a robust, advanced and high-value manufacturing sector in Ireland. We each have a role to play and we each commit to playing our part. And what I'm saying to you is that we at SIP2 Ideas, we're already doing our best to play our part in securing our factories into the future. Thank you.